Afternoon.
Oi, oi.
You're back.
I am back. I'm cold.
Yes.
It's not cold where I was last week. It's cold here.
It's very cold here.
Yeah, I know. It's like 20 degrees, t-shirts.
Don't rub it in.
And lots of bikes. So, I don't even know what, it feels like we haven't done this for ages, because we haven't really, but yeah, because Tuesdays we did the week before, didn't we? So it's been 2 weeks.
Yep.
2 weeks. So let's show you how much work the lads didn't do while I was gone. Yeah, we'll go into all the joys of the week, but I've come back today, 120 emails to do, a load of WhatsApps, and some new cars in the car park, which was nice. Ronnie's needs rear brakes, it failed MOT. So he authorised everything today, so that's okay, we'll get that all on order. We've got to do a rear shock on the Maserati, but the new rear shock comes and it doesn't have a bottom bush in it.
Oh dear.
So just takes the piss if you ask me. Never mind, is what it is. Matt's Lambo's all done, new clutch in it, tuned, ready to go. I've just got to tidy up cold start because it was really cold this morning. I just want to tidy that up while it's here. And turn off his ESP sensor because we put new gear paddles on it and it's got the G85 in it, which is a steering angle sensor, and you've got to set it. And they're just a nightmare to set. They're a nightmare to get them to go into initializing mode, and they're a nightmare to come out of initializing mode, so it is what it is. Then we have got Darcy's, needs some gear cables and a few other little bits and pieces. So we need to go through that. The white Greek one next to you, obviously we're just waiting for engine stuff to turn up. I think one set of pistons have arrived, and I haven't checked whether for this one or mix, but one set of pistons is here, so we're just waiting on another set of pistons. Kate's out of the Golf now, so I'll get Jordan to do his work on that and then we can sell it. So if anyone wants a really nice Golf GTI, give me a shout. I'll get Jordan to polish it, and we got a couple of little like car park dents to get out of it, which is normal sort of stuff, so that's ready to go. So if anyone wants that, holler at your boy. GHK needs a gearbox.
A whole gearbox?
A whole gearbox, not half a gearbox, a whole gearbox. Yeah, I'm sure that's the one. I'm sure it's that one.
Yep.
But basically it winds in gear and we drop the oil out and it's like silver glitter. Like, not like bits of metal in the oil. The oil is like, looks like Matey out of Terminator when he melts and goes through the prison fence. So it's just, yeah. Basically the gearbox is a T1000.
Oh dear.
It's such a good film.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
It was.
It was a good film. Adams is pretty much finished. The early versions of these had the TPMS module. It lives under the car basically. It lives under the fuel tank on one of the jack-in plates that covers the jack-in point. There's a plastic insert or plastic trim that is clipped in, not bolted in. And you drive along and the trim would fall out and it'd smash itself to bits on the floor, and it carried the TPMS module. So you would literally drag the TPMS module along the floor. And what's happened is, it's happened to that in the past, so they've put the modified plate on, which then has 3 screws that hold the plastic trim cover on, which in turn holds the TPMS sensor, so it had all that changed. But they'd obviously used the old TPMS module and there was a bit of damage on the wiring. So you would drive it and TPMS would drop straight off and then come back and drop. So we've changed TPMS module, fixed the wiring and re-secured it properly, but we just need to go out and match the sensors up and then it's ready to go. We fixed all the brake lights, so that's okay. And we fixed the air mass problems because that's okay. So just people have been in there in the past and like routed wiring wrong and done stuff and wiring's chafed through, so it is what it is. As what it is.
Bodge, bodge.
Yes. George is ready to go. I think Jordan's literally just got to finish some bits on that and it can go. I was with Alan last week with a twin turbo, so we've come up with a plan for that. Tosh's, I'm waiting on engine parts to turn up and we can finish that. We can rebuild the engine, put that back together. Jordan's got a Mini on an axle stand. This is Jordan's Mini.
Yes.
So if you don't want to buy a Golf, but you want to buy a Mini, give Jordan a shout. He's obviously having a wheel done. Matt's head's back and rebuilt. Matt just hasn't finished his car yet, but that's ready to go back together. So I think he's got everything to sort that.
Yeah, I think he's, well, we'll ask him in a minute.
Yeah. I know the head was, the head came back just before I went.
Yep.
And that's all built now, ready to go. So that's all sorted. And then the TT, just literally got to put heads back for that. The block's here, pretty much assembled. Just got to finish the engine and then we can start putting that back together. So plenty to tide us over before the lovely time of Christmas.
Indeed.
So should we go inside where it's warm because I'm freezing?
Go and have a look.
Struggling to get something for the missus for Christmas? Are you bugging kids, not giving you any Christmas ideas? Buy them one of these.
Look at that.
Look cool.
Happy days. And there's the logo.
So these will be up on a web shop next couple of days. Well, hopefully by the time this video's out, they'll be on a web shop. So, yeah. Order now for in time for Christmas.
Oh my God!
This one came from auction, and we've just got to give it a health check and fix any problems we find. But he came to have a look at it, and the expansion tank went pop while he was driving it. So, yeah, we've got some bits to do on that. This one, the roof doesn't work, and then it did work, and then it didn't work, and it did work, and it didn't work, and we figured out what that is. That's a hydraulic pump, so we get that sorted. Mitch is putting a Turbo S back to stock because the guy's changing his car, so it had full JCR system on it, and now it's going back to the stock 10-ton system.
Very good, very nice.
The joys.
This one weighs next to nothing.
And that one weighs
And that one takes two
next to
people.
everything. Yeah. So that'll be okay if we get that one finished.
Is it Inconel?
No, it's tight. Yes. It's titanium. Titanium. The white one is slowly drying out. The puddles have gone, but all the back, we've literally had it sat in here 2 weeks now, just trying to air it out because all the back sand deadening was literally sodden, mate. It was horrible. We've had to clean quite a lot of mould and sort of stuff off before before we could work on it because it was just
Shocking.
yeah, it was really bad. 650 with engine out. So we have done PCV, oil pump, water pump, valve clearances. What else have we done? A few other bits and pieces. We've literally gone over it top to bottom, front to back. He had a few little niggles that he wanted to address, so we've done that. But like you can see, we're all the front covers off. So the oil pump sits this side, and then that's the front drive nut. That we obviously have to take out, and then you take all the timing chains and everything off.
Yeah.
Then the crank has got the sprockets or the teeth on it for the oil pump and the water pump, but it drives a compound gear, which is this, and that compound gear then drives one cam each.
Yeah.
So on the right bank it drives the inlet, and on the left bank it drives the exhaust, and then they're gear driven then next to each other to drive the other cams. So we've done all that. So literally, yeah, rocker cover seals, front timing cover seal, water pump, oil pump, leaking oil hose, valve shims, a lot. So a bit of love, and then PCD. Because it would just smoke every now and again, but turbo's a mint, so you just want to go belt and braces. So yeah, looks pretty cool. Now it's just got to be put back together and go back in.
Is that your job?
It was my job, yeah. Valve clearances was fun.
Yeah.
I had to move near enough all of them.
But that is okay. What else? We've got a special thing with this next week. So we're going on a visit, ain't we, mate?
We are going on a visit. Yeah.
So we've been invited to take it somewhere to have something done. That doesn't help anybody understand anything.
Unless they've watched the previous video, perhaps.
But that will all be revealed next week.
Yeah.
So we are going Wednesday. So hopefully next Friday that will be our video.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've been invited somewhere to have that dealt with.
So it'd be good to get some more.
Yeah, I mean it's Podium place. I think I've said
Yeah.
we're going to go and get it ice blasted. So yeah, John at Podium's invited us down, and we're going to have a little tour, wander around because they're now TWR as well.
Yeah. Oh, look forward to that.
So we get to see Podium Place, the coffee shop, the coffee side of it with the cars in the showroom. Then we get to see TWR. They've got an engine dyno, so I want to see that because they've been building some power units to go in their new cars. And then they've got Podium Detailing, where they do ice blasting. So yeah, we invited us down, so they'll do the underside of the car, they do bonnet, under the bonnet. So yeah, it'd be cool. We go down and see him. John is the guy who owns the Time Attack Twin Turbo, the FF we did last week.
Yep.
Yeah, he's a car nut, so must have. I wouldn't even want to guess how many cars he's got. Every time I speak to him, he's got something new. So yeah, it's cool. Well, at one point, everything that was in storage was pretty much his.
Yeah.
So that is okay. Carlito is putting a flex fuel sensor on the twin turbo. That's all I've got to say about that. All right. Okay.
Anything to add?
No, that is what I'm doing. You can have a look at it if you want.
So happy.
And thanks for coming. Honestly, mate. What more do you want me to say? That's what I'm doing. I don't think much has happened.
In here.
No. Oh, Matthew's head.
There we go.
So yeah, all built up, ready to go on.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Back on the road for Christmas.
Driving home for Christmas.
He's gonna be like Chris
I know.
Rea, isn't he?
So yeah, it's all built, sorted, ready to go.
Yeah.
It's tidied up. A few little bits and pieces to button off. A couple engines that can go. We've got a Mercy to then start doing, or to finish off the bottom end, and the heads can go on because they're all back and built.
Right. Okay. Yeah. There it
That's
is.
a crap look. Italian sort of castings are. Like we've skimmed it. That's not corrosion. That's like core shift. You see all these bobbles.
Yeah.
It's just a core shift in the material. It's like rubbish.
Not very
No, mate.
high tech.
No. But they've come up so clean.
It looks good, doesn't it?
Yeah. Come up amazing. So all will be reap. The other one's just behind you.
Yeah. There we go.
So that's all good.
Till the one.
Don't think that's a McLaren head. Where's my? I got a TTRS head around here somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's back now, so that's okay. Yeah, it's all good.
Cool. Engine room done.
Romeo done. And the Skoda, the red Skoda. Come have a look. Oh, it's cold in here. It's on the dyno.
Here we go.
It did 390 of your American horsepowers, but it has got modified injectors in, and they've got the flow control of like an incontinence
Well, look, he's fitted me with a piss bag. He knows I you.
person. They're really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. It will sit there and it will do idle control and it will sit at 0 trim, and then you rev it and it comes back down and it goes to idle again, and then idle control will go -20, +20, -20, +20, -20, and it just gets to a PID wind up, and you do a pull and it will come down to 0. So the injectors are absolute dog shit. And the guy who sold the card said they were uprated injectors, so we've gone back. We're going to put a set of stock ones in it.
Yep.
We're going to lift up the. It's got an early fuel rail valve in it, so like a mechanical valve to control fuel rail pressure, like a blow-off valve almost. So we're going to change that. And also the cam timing's a little bit lazy as well on the dyno, so we'll swap the variator. Sorry, we'll swap the solenoid and see if that helps, but if not, it'll be a variator on the end of the cam. But the problem is that's 600 quid for that.
Oof.
So yeah, a little bit the problems you find when you start tuning, because
Yeah.
just is what it is, and then yeah, get that finished off, so that'll be all right. And then that can go. So I'm trying to get rid of cars before Christmas.
Okay.
Yeah, it's always all right, mate. I have zero enthusiasm.
Well, tell me a little bit about your trip away.
So, bastard. Another word for so.
Okay.
Forthwith.
Yeah.
No, that doesn't work.
Anyway.
I ended up. Anyway, that's going to be the new one.
Yeah.
Goes to the t-shirt better as well. I ended up being invited to OMG Racing's like end of year test / track day. So they go away at the end of the year and they take the superbikes, and if there's bits and pieces they want to test, and some of it I can't, or I won't say out because they're a race team trying to gain advantage,
Yeah.
or trying to work on their advantages, but they obviously want to test things. So Ryan and Kyle were out there with the superbikes, so obviously all the OMG team go, but then Paul Curran, who runs the race team, so Alan Gardner owns the team, Paul's the sort of the technical mind behind it, also runs PCR, and MAHA 6 is an ex-OMG bike. So MAHA 6 was built for DJ Dave Johnson to race the TT, so they built a pair of them, not for last year's TT because obviously, not for this year's TT because I raced it this year,
Yeah.
but for last year's TT. Well, DJ went to Alton testing or to race BSB just before TT last year and come off and pretty much broke his back. So my bike never did anything. So I bought my bike end of 22 off the race team, and I've raced it all year. So they kind of invited me out to take my bike basically, because obviously we look after Alan with his car. I've looked after some cars for Paul. Paul's always built all my bikes, my R1, my BMW. Obviously I've looked after this. They'll do all my work on my bike now over the winter. All my suspensions from Paul. Everything off for Josh's bike was off Paul. So I don't go to anybody else. It's just, Paul does everything on my stuff. And they invited me out. So last Monday we flew to Alicante, and that was everybody. So Paul, Alan, James Hillier, Carl Ride, Ryan Vickers, Tommy Hills, Carl's manager. Fuck me, that boy can still ride a bike. Jesus Christ. Considering 12, he hasn't ridden for 11 years, 10 years he hasn't raced for. Yeah, that was impressive. That was very impressive. So we all went out, and then they take the rest of the race team and they take the guys who work in the workshop at PCR as well, and they all take their bikes, and it's just like a test / track day. So yeah, we ended up at Cartagena, and I rode Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then I was lucky enough to ride the superbike on Thursday, so I rode Kyle's bike. So yeah, that was.
How did that compare?
Easier to ride in the slow corners than mine.
Yeah.
So at Cartagena you go around turn 1, so you go on the 600 you're 5th, back to 3rd for turn 1, and it's like a long increase in radius right-hander, and then a sharp left, almost hairpin, and that's for 2nd there, and you pick the throttle up and you try to drive the superbike 2nd at turn 1 and 1st for turn 2. And that was easier to drive off turn 2 on the big bike than it was on mine, and I thought that would be the other way around, because it's got so much power. and a lot of power. And his first gear, I thought that would be horrible, but actually it was lovely. It was just, there wasn't even a twitch as you sort of pick the throttle up. It's not very, probably unfair, it's unstable when there's no input. So if you're coasting into a corner, it's unstable. So it either wants to be on the throttle, it wants you to load the bike one way or another. Even if you're trying to like sit the bike in the centre, it almost feels floaty on the bars. It always wants you to be trying to either almost lean in, like on the edge of the tyre.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're not putting an input into the bike, nervous for want of a better word, is how it feels. The second you either start putting a load into it, it just smooths right out. So the first lap I was on it, I was like, almost like, how does anyone ride this? And then the second you get it into your head that you could lean on it and push, it's just something else. But it's a tractor off the turns, literally, mate. Yeah, it just pulls. And sort of, the lads were like, just when you get to start finish straight, put your big boy pants on, hold it in a stop, and see what it does. And I've never ever had a bike, the TTS Hayabusa, but that R1 power wheelie in fourth. I come off the last turn at Cartagena, which is the first gear, and I just literally started driving off the turn, stood it up, put it on a stop, and it wheelied, second wheelied, third wheelied, fourth wheelied, and I had to roll to get the front wheel on the floor before I could brake for turn one. So the thing is an absolute weapon, and it picks it when it opens the stacks. Oh, it just goes again. It's like almost like VTEC when it comes on VTEC and a car goes again. It was exactly like that. I didn't even try braking. Literally, I was like comfort braking everywhere, and the thing stops like nothing else. The thing absolutely stops. So I can't remember what I got up to now. Brakes. I probably pulled 6 bar of brake pressure, and like my R6 I can pull like 13, 14, and I was still stopping the bike quicker than what my R6 would at that. So when you get them top boys pulling 15, 16 bar brake pressure on those bikes, where you think Top Rack can pull 19, on those bikes, I can't imagine. My arms can't take what I can do on my R6, let alone that bloody Superbike.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's mad. It's mad. You realise, like hanging around with them as well for the week. So I did a very, very fast lap time. Ryan got on my bike. Ryan Vickers got on my bike, and within 5 laps, he was 3 seconds quicker.
3
on my bike.
Wow.
Yeah. But I was only 0.8 of a second, maybe a second slower than what him and Carl were doing on their stockers. So yeah, they both had our stock 600s out there. So I'm only a second slower than what they were doing on stock bikes. So it just proves, like, I think my bike's probably a good 20 horsepower up on what they were, but also then we spend a lot of time on engine braking control, and we have all season, and that's a massive thing as the levels go up. How the bike enters the corner is like super important. So we kind of did quite a lot of work on that last transition from braking to committing to the corner, or to entering the corner. So you obviously want the engine braking control to stop you in a straight line, but you don't want it to stop you too much, because you want to let go of the brakes and run through, especially on a 600. But we were working on allowing it to do that, but then sort of towards the very end then drag the bike into the apex. So you use a rear brake to help turn the bike in. So we were trying to play with the engine brake control there, so it like pulls the nose of the bike in basically. So it shows you when a top lad gets on a good bike, like, because his R6 was his old 2018 championship winning bike, like, so it was proper Billy Basic, and he's literally got on mine within 5 laps. And he comes in, he goes, yeah, I wasn't really pushing, which I believe, because you don't take a risk. Like, I wasn't pushing on a Superbike, you don't take a risk with someone else's bike. Yeah, so I was a bit like, like, it shows a top level, but you listen to him, and sort of, bless him, Ryan gave me some coaching on some techniques he had seen me do or heard me do over the 3 days and sort of give me some guidance on them. And you realise, like him, Kyle, James Hillier, Paul Curran, because he rode at a very high level, Tommy Hill, when you start watching them and what they do, that's the difference, I would say, between a fast club racer or someone at the back of British to what the lads are doing at the top.
Yeah.
And one of them is like backshifting. How they backshift. So that was a big sort of eye-opener to listen to their thoughts and how their thoughts are different to yours, and why they do it and how they do it and sort of how the bike feels. So it was good to have a good couple of days to practice those techniques that you wouldn't normally be able to do either in a race environment or, you know, 6 20-minute sessions at Dunlop on at Donington on a track day. So it was quite nice to be able to do that. We played with seat height because I always feel like I'm pushing the front. So we played around with seat height and we tried different seats. We did a lot on engine braking control, a lot on ignition crossover and fueling crossover and stuff like that. So yeah, got the bike in a really good place. I went there, and if I said when I went out, I spoke to some mates, and I was like, if I can do this lap time, I'd be chuffed. And I think by the last day, I was that close to, if I'd stuffed a new tyre in, it kind of would have taken another sort of half second off, and I would have been like proper buzzing. But by that point, I'd done 3 days riding, my arms and my shoulders are feeling it, and I'm like, if I put this in the air fence now, trying to be a hero, then I'm going to look an absolute tool. Because there's one bit of Cartagena where you go, you do that chicane, you do the hairpin, you go through a chicane, there's a fast right-handed downhill, you do this long right, and then you come back up the hill, and it goes a tight left, and then it comes uphill further, and it goes over a crest, but you're absolutely decked. And if you crash there, that is no bueno. Because the track falls away, and I'm not kidding, it must be like a 50-60 foot drop. If you lose it there, and you are close to closing the front there, you won't get your bike back. That'll be put it in the skip. Yeah. So it's that thing of having a good time, push in, getting a time you're happy with, and bringing it back in one piece. So I brought it back in one piece. But yeah, it was mega. It was a great week.
I guess that's not something most people get the opportunity to do either.
Hang out with people like
that and get that kind of feedback.
Yeah, I was very, very fortunate. The guys were very kind enough as well to sort of not put any restrictions on me track time wise, whereas some of the other guys were just like, when a superbike's out on track, you're not. So I kind of had free reign almost. They know I won't do anything silly, but yeah, you know, Paul and Alan's hospitality was amazing. But then that's testament to them. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? This is why I use them. This is why anyone asks me about my bikes, I just say go and talk to Paul at PCR. You know, we don't use anyone else. And then you start chatting to who they look after, what bikes they look after, who they supply parts to, and it's just everybody, mate. There's a reason they're British champions who in the first, what was it, their 5th season, and they're British Superbike champions. No one's ever done that. Mad. Yeah. So yeah, be interesting because they're a factory team next year as well. So they're official Yamaha now.
Did you capture some footage as well?
I have. Yeah, I've got some onboard of me on my R6, but I think we've got the orientation wrong. So I think you're going to have a play with that, aren't you? So we'll try and wedge a lap in of that, and then we've got some onboard footage of me on a superbike, which is the right orientation. Because basically, I got one of these Insta 360 Go Frees or whatever it is, and it's like a little tiny camera. I basically gaffer taped it inside my helmet on the sort of the cheek pad. So yeah, it's a proper first person view of what's going on.
Cool.
And you had a little look, didn't you? You didn't think it was too bad.
That was good. It's not a view you normally get. That's definitely.
No. Yeah, so the lads sort of ran a show while I was away. Kate ran a show while I was away, and I just ignored the world existed and rode bikes. And now I'm paying for it.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Come back and it's like ridiculous, but it is what it is. You only live once.
Exactly.
I think, other than that,
we're all caught up.
We are. We haven't had any questions the last couple of weeks, but to be fair, we didn't really ask for questions, did we? Because we ask in like comparison stuff when at FF or Rafe and stuff like that. So yeah, if you've got any questions, ask away. We have no idea what we're doing Friday.
No, we have to get our thinking caps on for that one.
Yeah. So that'll be okay. Here she is, the apple of my eye. Do you not want to be in a video, Kate? No? She doesn't want to be in a video. Yeah, it was a good week. It was a good week. I was very lucky to be invited and able to take the time away from here and the family to go and ride. So yeah, obviously miss Kate and the kids, but sort of got it out of my system. So that's it now until end of Feb, start of March, something like that. So we'll get engine refreshed on mine. Because obviously the valve trains on the R6s take £1 in, and they're not cheap, they're like 150 quid a valve.
Oof.
Yeah, proper. So get that done, just get it refreshed, new clutch, get suspension refreshed, because I tried that new RPS 40 through rod shock, the Öhlins. So I've got a TTX on mine, and I've got older one of these World Superbike spec rear shocks. And in fairness to my TTX, it hasn't been serviced half a season, so it could be that. But what I could feel is same spring rate, same shock length, same installed height on the spring, everything. But what I could feel is when I was hard on the brakes and I transitioned back to releasing the brakes and letting the weight back on the rear, I found the new RPS was much more supple, allowing the wheel to come into contact. It didn't feel like my TTX felt like if I was letting the brakes off and I was letting the rear come into contact with the ground, it felt like it almost fell through, but not in a spring kind of way where you drive on and the bike sits. This just felt like there was no, like the very top of the stroke was lazy.
Yeah.
Whereas I put this new damper on, and as I'm coming back down, you can just kind of feel it control, support you almost as the weight comes back onto the rear. And that was just a nicer feeling. It was less sharp, because the more comfortable. What you don't realise is you're subconsciously weighting. So you try and obviously let the brakes off and pick the gas up as close together as you can, because you want to be either stopping or going. You don't want to be in that sort of dead man zone. And so that rear shock that was the big thing I noticed. I didn't really notice any loads of edge grip or loads of this or loads of that. What I noticed was sort of allowing the weight to come back on a rear that you would probably say that sort of like top, 7 to 10 mil of the stroke in the top of the damper was just much more supple, much more supportive. So yeah, it's nice, mate. It's good.
Okay.
Tried Dunlops.
Yeah.
They're weird. Yeah. Well, I've raced all season on Pirellis. Obviously all my super sport days was on Pirellis. Anytime you've been to British, you're on Pirellis. And they have, I would say they have better grip than the Dunlop, better outright grip than the Dunlop, but they tank off really quick. The Dunlop's probably, I would say maybe 80% of the same grip, but it never changed.
Right.
Not until the very, very end of the days when I was like, I could just get it to sort of not spin, but just feel like I couldn't go, because at 600 you just literally go, and I felt I couldn't do that with the tyre. I would say a rear Dunlop and a front Pirelli is probably my sweet spot, because the carcasses are so hard, it doesn't give you any engagement, so you've just got to believe the tyre's going to hold. And where it's a lot of very, very late apex turns, you carry the brake with a lot of lean angle. You ask a lot of the front tyre, and a Pirelli might have sat there and gone, but you would have understood that the tyre was on its limit. Whereas there was twice on those Dunlops where I've gone and hit, and it's literally gone tup, and I'm like, oh. Like it's just given me that initial chatter where it started to go.
Yeah.
And luckily it is on a point where I am coming off, so I haven't had to react to it. But yeah, last corner I had a big moment on the front as well, and I've never been someone to sort of have those close-in moments on the front. I either close the front or don't. I never really push to the point where I'm on the limit, but those Dunlops don't give you much feedback.
Yep.
I had a couple of moments on the rear where it would spin, and it didn't give me warning, because it wasn't like a big, it was spinning and starting to turn on the rear. Whereas a Pirelli, you would have felt that movement before it did, so you can drive into it and then like help it turn the bike. Whereas the Dunlops just kind of, it's almost like you had to remember what, at that lean angle, how much throttle you needed for it to do that. Whereas a Pirelli would have like gone, you're nearly there, mate. So that was the biggest thing missing with tyres. But it lasted, which is the main thing, which is the reason I went for Dunlops, because everybody goes down Pirellis because they don't last.
Yeah.
You know, the other boys are out on 0s and 1s, and they're just like Tommy Hill was put a 1 in the back of his R1. He was like 2 sessions, and he's just like everywhere, and he's like this. But the second you've lost grip and you've got no entry grip, everyone thinks it's all about drive grip on the rear. Yeah, you'll hear a rider complain about spin on the exit, but it's always entry grip, because all it does then is it just goes in sideways. You've got no grip holding your rear in line. So that's why a top level rider was always, when it's a rear tyre, they'll complain about entry grip. But that's a lot of rambling for a lot of crap. So hopefully Dab's put in a load of pictures.
Yes.
And yeah, let's bang 2 laps on. So we'll do a lap. If the angle's weird, it's because I messed up the camera, so I put a camera in. But for what, I must have put my helmet down before I picked it up and put it on, because the camera's 90 out, so we'll straighten it out, but it might look like you're watching it on your phone.
Yeah.
Enjoy. Tell me what I did wrong, and we'll see you Friday.
Will do.
Laters.
I do.